this little ditty right here.
That's a sexual book.
Oh, look how shiny it is. Look how shiny it is.
Oh.
Shit.
We do versions of Halloween that never made the screen. And that's basically literally what this book is. I mean, it's just a bunch of awesome stories about Halloween sequels that never fucking happened. So definitely check that out. You can get it on Amazon. It's a fucking great read. Like literally the video we're about to do is just about one chapter of it. It's so cool. And this is a version of Halloween 4 that never made the screen, and it's fucking wild. The screenplay for this one was by Mark Allen Medina and Daniel Kinney. You guys remember we did a video a while back about the Dennis Etchison version of Halloween 4. That was even before the Taking Shape 2 had come out. In that Halloween 4 script that was never made, John Carpenter actually had a little bit more involvement in it. And Michael in this thing was crazy supernatural. Like he literally grew to 12 feet tall at one point. He regenerated on site. It was a wild, batshit fucking crazy script, right?
Fucking acid trip.
Yeah. So when they were doing that, when they were trying to figure out what they're going to do for Halloween 4, part of the problem was that there was a lot of partners involved. And nobody could agree on any one path to take Michael. But Malek Akkad said he had one thing he wanted to make sure didn't happen. He's like, I want to make sure I don't like that super duper supernatural Myers. I want a Michael Myers that is still walking the line between supernatural and original. So his one rule,
like Shredder, but not Super Shredder.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna kill us all.
Exactly. And that was his one rule. So he bought up all these guys' rights. So Malek Akkad for the first time had all the rights to Halloween. He could do what he wanted to it. And he put a call out to both Writers Guild writers and non-Writers Guild writers. And he said, hey, pitch me some shit. And they said they had hundreds of scripts. This was one of them, and it came from non-Writers Guild writers.
Like I said, man, if you had a coherent Iggy Pop, it would be this movie for sure. Like I said at the beginning, that's exactly it's. But you know what? It's not bad. But the author actually makes, like he says, he's like, if this thing could pop up the pages and snort coke, it would. It's such an 80s movie. The only thing I didn't like, I mean, most of I didn't love everything about it, but one of the things I just did not fucking like, I'm like, you ain't doing that. You ain't doing that in my home, is when they changed the outfit for Michael. I'm like, no fucking way. You're going to step out and that'd be like putting bat nips on the bat suit with a cod piece. It's like, you can't have it. Like at one point, they literally have Michael dressed in leather pants with a leather jacket and like throwing up a set of Porsche keys, catching it. And I just thought of like, I don't know, like some kind of Duran story. Come on. It's like, don't fucking do it. Don't you do it.
It's fucking crazy, man. And we'll get to that. But so like, and by the way, Ringy 542, thank you very much. He says, would you ever like to actually see a legit Michael versus Jason movie? Honest to God, no. I mean, I would like to watch it, but if they did that at any point in the future, it would just really just tank the franchise. I feel like right now Halloween is on a trajectory of being taken serious, and they can try to do some really artsy stuff with it. I think in 20 years, maybe when there's just not going to be a Michael Myers movie unless they do something insane and crazy, then I would like to see them make the movie. I'd like to watch it, but I don't think it'd be good for either franchise.
Michael versus a Jason movie is basically the death knell into a Halloween.
Right.
I mean, like you have no other outs, and then that was what they would do. If Halloween was just dead in the water and they had to do something to inject some new blood into it, that's exactly what they do. So yeah, there's some good like fan films on YouTube that explore that very. I mean, there's one that me and Mike got into that shit. It was like a Royal Rumble like pay-per-view. We were cheering and like there was like oil and we wrestled on the floor. It was great. It was a good time. It wasn't just a Saturday night. It was a great wrestling event. But yeah, Michael versus Jason. If both franchises were actually DOA. And I'm not, Friday the 13th is technically that, but if things get worked out in the court systems, it may not be that way forever. But if they were both just fucked, then you have them come in and fight. Man, that'd be a great time.
Yeah. Again, I'd love to see it. But okay, so this script, going into the actual script of what happens. So it picks up after Halloween 2, right? It picks up after that. Michael and Loomis, they're both hurt from the explosion at the end of Halloween 2. Michael, a lot more so than Loomis. It says something like 85% of his body was severely burned. They put them, they take them both to the hospital. They airlift Michael on a stretcher. Loomis wasn't as badly burned, but they airlift Michael on a stretcher to take him to the Chicago hospital in the middle of Chicago. Mm-hmm. And while they're above Lake Michigan, the cord breaks. Now, in the script, the way it reads is that the cord was just an old cord and they didn't check it and it breaks. I like to think that Michael was like, "Get me the fuck out of here," and he found a way to break it. But either way, Michael's body, near death, just tumbles into the Lake Michigan. And
that motherfucking helicopter was a budget express helicopter. There was like a rickety ass little shit out there. I'm like, man, come on, man, go ahead and fuel that copter. I was like, man, that thing hasn't flown since the Korean War. It's like, go ahead and do it. We're cutting some budgets. That was such a like. I mean, you know what? It's stupid, but at the same time, it fits for the script. The fact that this mass murderer, this killer that everybody's terrified of, how he gets out and away from the cops and the pursuing authorities is like he gets airlifted and then his ass gets dropped into the magical lake of Michigan. Like I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's funny, but but it goes back to because when they did the interview with it, I don't even think the guy knew. The two guys writing the script were like, how's he come back then? He's like, I don't fucking know. He fell into some water and the goddamn lady of the lake gave him a second chance. They didn't even think that far ahead.
That's kind of how he explained it too when they asked him, because the script apparently doesn't do a very good job of explaining how he got out of the lake, what happened, and this kind of goes right against what we said earlier about Akkad wanting him not to be too supernatural. But the guy said basically, he's the Terminator. That's part of the reason why you don't know. I think that this is one of those things that I think it's not a great plot point. The idea of Michael fucking strapped to a goddamn
that shit,
gurdy.
I'd laugh my ass off.
And falling like, oh shit. And then you can see Michael's eyes open as he goes into the water.
Where you saw his little feet going? He goes, I need medical treatment.
Like it's one of those things that it could be, if written a little bit better, maybe a rewrite, maybe you could fix that. So it's not the worst idea in the world. But Michael goes into the ocean, Loomis gets healed up. But even before the title drops, you see Laurie, the original version of this. We'll get to what happens later, but in the original version of this, Jamie Lee Curtis is in the story, Laurie Strode's in the story, and you see this flash by of her in psychiatry. She's dealing with PTSD, all the normal Laurie stuff that we're come to. She's having panic attacks, but the difference is in this, the movie is a full-on 1980s MTV laden fucking film, they say. I mean, it's a full-on, when MTV was good, type of MTV film. They're in the 80s in a bustling Chicago. We're not in Haddonfield. Laurie is now a successful journalist. I want to say it's like successful.
Yeah, she's the like an editor-in-chief of like a Vogue magazine or some shit like that.
Yeah, something like People magazine, something like that.
Yeah.
She's doing she's very successful. She has a husband, she has a kid. She's super successful, and she's in the bustling 80s. She's a successful businesswoman, but she keeps having these panic attacks. She's dealing with anxiety, but she doesn't remember Michael Myers. She doesn't remember what happened. And then it turns out you find out who's her psychiatrist. It's fucking Dr. Loomis, which is crazy.
Like I always feel like Dr. Loomis, like, well, my goddamn patient's dead, and I gotta worry about your crazy ass. Don't kill anybody, okay? You've been blocking off these emotions. You're crazy as shit, but you've got big shoulder pads because you live in Chicago and a very successful businesswoman. That's what you are. I you know what's funny is, like, I feel like when they would go to the Chicago scene, I would hope that the main thing would be like they would play Flock of Seagulls. And I ran. So you would have that, and I kind of did. I would dig. I kind of would. The whole scene and setting. I did like the fact that it's in Chicago, but the whole and Laurie dealing with PTSD basically and blocking off those painful memories. It makes sense too. It actually does make a lot of sense, and it would actually lend a better story in a lot of ways than. I'm not saying it would be better than what we got with Halloween 4, the actual OG Halloween 4, but I feel like it would be a really good telling, especially dealing with that emotion and that PTSD of Laurie Strode.
Yeah, there's some really, really good stuff in it. Like, regardless, I don't know which one I'd want, but there's some good stuff in here. So when Loomis is introduced, do you have it in front of you, Jay, what he actually says into the tape recorder?
What page is it?
It's on page 65. So
I feel like I'm back in fucking school.
Yeah, please read from page 65.
Oh, shit. Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. I'll try. Okay, yeah. Michael Myers burned to death on October 31st, 1978, but not before leaving an open wound within Laurie Strode. These dreams not only plague her sleep, but threaten to interfere with her waking hours. One day soon she will remember. My only prayer is when this happens, I will be there. Cue R. Kelly.
Stop killing me with this shit. So that's the audio that's taken from the script, what Loomis says when he reappears, and that's dope. But as you go on, when you pick up with what's going on with Michael Myers, so you see Laurie crying, you see all the stuff going on. She's in therapy. She doesn't know why. Loomis decides that what he needs to do is treat her with hypnotherapy. So he treats her with hypnotherapy, and I get, and they talk about this in the book, like about why Loomis is her doctor, and that's maybe he feels some guilt for what happened to her due to Michael, because she doesn't remember Michael Myers, she doesn't remember what happens, but he's her doctor, and that's kind of weird. But it's because he has some guilt over Michael and all that. But he treats her with hypnotherapy, and while she's under, which by the way, this is very fucking Nightmare on Elm Street. Some of it is when they get into it. While she's under, she comes to and she realizes, oh my God. It's Michael Myers. She remembers. And then after that, she is looking at pictures that she got developed, and she sees in a picture Michael Myers in the background in her fucking home while she was taking the pictures.
That's so weird. You know what that gives me? That gives me like Sinister vibes. But go, it really, but go. But I always think it's funny. Like you would see Michael, and then the more that she develops the pictures in that red room, like it would be Michael, and then Michael Myers would slowly move away behind a tree. Like each picture, like what if someone took subsequent pictures of her, and then or of the house, and you would see him go like this. He'd be like 1, 2. Each picture, he'd be like trying to step behind a bush or something.
It's like he's photobombing her pictures, like in the background. But I can see that being a freaky scene in a movie, though. Like when she's going through, imagine going through your pictures and all of a sudden fucking Michael's faint face in the background. Oh my God, that could be cool. They
kind of talked about like the fact that it was going to be more of a psychological, at least in the way, not all of it, but the fact that they had those moments where, like, how the blood drops in Halloween 2, you see the slow blood drop. Like they were gonna have shit like that, like a very nightmarish sequences going on as she was experiencing her nightmares and anxiety and panic attacks, which could work. I mean, it's a lot different than what you would normally get out of a Halloween movie. I mean, I think it would work in the setting, and I think it would work all right. But it's so weird. It's just like, I'm not saying that Dr. Loomis shouldn't have been in. Obviously, he should have been. Donald Pleasance is a gold treasure, but it's just so weird that he goes from because they didn't have a personal relationship, Laurie and him, at all in Halloween 1 or 2. They're barely there. But then in Halloween 4, he's like, "Yeah, I'll take your shit over. Come on over here." Like he was like, "Yeah," I goes, "I couldn't help that ass, so I help you." Okay. It makes it so weird. Like, because you would think, honestly, what got me about the whole thing, you would think that Donald Pleasance would be hell fucking bent on making sure the body of Michael Myers was either recovered, and if it was recovered, then burnt the fuck up with acid or a fat man setting on it till it crushed its skull or something. I don't know.
Again, a really fucking simple thing to fix in the script. Like if they do a rewrite, they add in a scene where Loomis, like, he's treating her and you got that scene, but then they show him like talking to some sheriffs or wherever, like, I don't believe it. I don't care what's going on. That I want to see his body. They could really do a great job of explaining how Michael got out of the ocean, of the lake, Michigan, and also where his whereabouts are as far as the community was concerned, with just an extra scene added on. It's something that I think is really fixable, which a lot of these other pre-scripts that we read that never happened, they have shit in them that's unfixable. But so it goes on. So Michael's back. Okay. And the first, this is where it gets crazy, but it's cool. I like it. I fucking like it, man. So Laurie's doing this expose with her big new gig. She drives a BMW. She lives in high rise, has a kid, has a husband. She's doing this expose on a rock star. And it says that they were going to get a big named rock star to play a cameo in this role. She's doing a cameo, an interview, an expose on a rock star. And that's kind of how Michael finds her. You have this crazy fucking scene, man. And it's so cool the way the guy explains it. By the way, how this all came to be was one of the dudes who wrote it was in a new wave band at the time. And they were a pretty big band. They were playing at like the Whiskey A Go-Go, doing all this shit. And basically he had a rich friend who was in cahoots with Maleka Cod, who thought he was an interesting guy. And he said, "Hey, you want to write this with me?" And so apparently the way the script writes out, it's totally 80s MTV, like we said. And it's got all this crazy shit. And that all comes from this rock star that was helping write the script, which is just so fucking cool. But anyways, she's doing this expose on this rock star. And they mentioned, by the way, later on that he had a Sammy Hagar type as the guy.
Well, because the interviewer also said Alice Cooper might have been in the running for it too. Oh, no, he was mentioning that he said Alice Cooper and Dokken had already done their respective Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street 4. By the way, you guys got to remember that this script was literally made in the shadow of those films. Those films had really embraced the MTV culture at the time. And the book even reads and says the fact that Halloween had, like Mike mentioned, so many creators pulling in so many different directions. They didn't have a singular focus. So Nightmare on Elm Street series and Friday the 13th were basically burying the Halloween series in its dust. I mean, it was just like they couldn't get anything together, and they were just embracing MTV. So yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Pretty cool if you think about it for the time being. But so Michael goes to this rock star's house, and apparently there's these great Panavision shots of, you get to see, it's like the rock star with Mark Wahlberg when he's walking around the mansion. He's like, oh my God, can you believe these are the lapels from the show or whatever?
Yeah.
You get this huge Panavision shot of this rock star's mansion, and you get to see Michael Myers, like basically in an episode of MTV Cribs, like the camera's panning around and you see Michael Myers in this dude's rock star mansion. Michael, it's fucking, dude, it's the coolest thing I ever.
It's cool, but it's kind of stupid. It's just so weird.
It's stupid, but like if you just like lean into it, it's like, oh my God, I'd love to see this shit, because it gets even kookier. But he's in this rock star's fucking mansion, and he kills the rock star. He kills the rock star's groupie while he's there. This is the one thing you mentioned it earlier. I don't like it either. It's the first thing I'd take out of the script. Michael, after he kills the guy, goes into his closet and he puts on some of the rock star's clothes, and it's leather pants. Again, this is the worst part of the script. It's leather pants, a leather jacket, and black gloves with the Michael Myers mask on. And then he finds the guy's Porsche keys.
Yeah.
And when he finds his keys to his Porsche, there's a scene where Michael throws up the keys and catches them. Like,
that's like, it reads like some fucking, like, I feel like that's what David Hasselhoff did after he got up off the floor when he was drunk for the Wendy's commercial that never really happened. And not to mention the fact that you're telling me, this is what you're telling me, that Michael Myers, broke into this rock star's house, and I understand, like, he's not picky about the clothes he wore, but he personally chose leather pants because he don't wear fucking underwear because he doesn't take a shit, he doesn't care, but he chose leather panties. And leather pants probably to go on top of that, then a leather jacket, and then maybe the Porsche was the only car in the garage, but then flips him up in the air and catches him like he's a badass rock star. At that point, it's like, Jesus Christo. I don't know about this one, Jim, because because you got a picture in your mind, literally Michael Myers, like one of the baddest of the bad serial killers of all time, and one of the coolest, film horror or horror villains ever. Like, literally picks leather pants and a leather jacket to go out into the world to start some shit, Zed. It's funny, but it's almost becoming a parody at this point, because the fact that he would do that, it's almost a parody.
I fucking hate it, dude. Like, as a serious, like, Michael Myers film, I hate it, but god damn it, do I want to fucking see it. Could you imagine if you're sitting in the theater watching a movie like around the time Halloween 4 came out, and you got that scene where Michael's like, and the camera zooms in on his hand as he catches the keys, and then you see a Porsche like back out and like Twisted Sisters playing. It's like, we're not gonna take it.
I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie, as stupid as it is, dude, I might shit my pants with glee if I saw that happen. I don't fucking know.
I mean, I'd probably shit my pants with glee, but at the inside die a little bit and be like, oh my God.
It's a bit of both, dude. It's a fucking bit of both. But again,
I always feel like it'd be like maybe in the Patriots, like, how could it have come to this? Farmers with pitchforks. Because it's like, it's kind of, I don't know, you go from Halloween 2 and then it's all working up to cool shit, and it's the 80s vibe, and then boom, fucking cue David Hasselhoff and Knight Rider.
It's wild. But again, the rest of the script, it really tightens up after that. That is the wildest shit. Like, it really does tighten up after that. And again, I honestly, God, like, I prefer that 80s corny shit over Michael, like, fucking making doppelgangers like in the last script we read, or like,
that was crazy,
using mind games and shit like that. Before we continue, let me say, Edward Santiago says Michael Myers spinning like that one lady. You know the video, the one where everybody goes, wee, when you watch it. I guess he means when he's in the helicopter fucking spinning around. Oh, yeah. Windy, I can fly. Marco V. Toro, thanks, buddy. Really appreciate that. He says, it would have been cool that even as he is treating her, Dr. Loomis has been following on sightings people have turned in of Michael Myers after his body was never found, and fears he's made his way to Laurie. That's a cool thing, too. Like, if he's like, no, it's seen, and they're like, that's just some kook in the sun. You know what I mean?
I like Kevin Ziegler. He said grease or Michael. You go, like, yeah, some fucking, grease. You know the one that I want? Michael. Boo, 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 stab you.
fucking crazy, dude. But okay, so moving on in the script. After that happens, you get a wild fucking death scene. So now Michael Myers has killed the rock star, which would be cool to see him kill a big rock star that made a cameo in the movie. But he takes this Porsche, and there's been a lot made over the years of Michael Myers driving, how he learned to drive, blah 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 blah. Apparently by accident, Michael's driving the fucking Porsche, and at one point he pulls up next to Laurie, but he's got his windows up in tint, so she doesn't know he's there. She doesn't. That part I don't love. Yeah,
he's like, hey, yeah, what kind of sound system you got, dog? Is that Bose?
Not too far off though of Halloween when he pulls up and he sees them when he's driving by. But eventually he loses control of the Porsche, and he, by accident, kind of the way it reads, he slams into a bunch of moviegoers, and he kills 13 people with the Porsche by crashing it into a movie theater. The camera pans up after he kills these people with the Porsche, and what fucking movie were they in line to go see? Halloween 4.
Yeah, I do like the fact that they point out that the Porsche is a stick. And then Michael thought he was downshifting, and he didn't actually downshift, so he fucked up. So Michael didn't even mean to kill him; it was an accident. He was like, I feel like there was like there should be like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Like he hits that shit, like he hits the shit wrong. It's not like Michael meant to plow into a bunch of innocent people going to see a movie, but it's like because he didn't know how to drive fucking stick. Like I wouldn't know how to drive it either. He's skidded into.
But he's like, hey, I don't feel bad either. I didn't mean to do this, but I don't feel bad.
No, like it says he drives off in the Porsche, but it almost is like a friend of yours. If you have an accident, like, dude, I don't have insurance. I don't know. He's like, dude, just hit the gas and go. He's like, I don't have no insurance.
If they really wanted to go with the comedic aspect from the taking of the keys and the grabbing of the keys, when Michael kills these people and there's like people screaming around, there's blood on the windshield. If the camera pans to his face and he's like, you know what I mean?
Or like where you like skid it to a stop and you just see him go, I gotta get out of here.
It's fucking crazy.
Yo, bro, the cops are coming, bro. Just go, bro.
So at one point after this happens, Laurie's realized that Michael's back. Loomis realizes that Michael's back. She rushes back to her house where basically the penultimate final scene takes place and everything comes to a head. She has an aunt visiting, Aunt Heather, that's visiting, and Michael's in her house before she gets there. He kills the Aunt Heather by putting her arm in a dish disposal and a garbage disposal, which pretty cool death scene, probably. You don't see the death on screen, but he kills Laurie's husband, who is apparently, very supportive, good guy. He kills her by pinning him to the door, a la Bob in Halloween. They just find his dead corpse against the wall, pinned. And then there's apparently a big, huge chase scene between Michael and Laurie's daughter.
Stephanie.
Yeah, which is all of this is very, very much the Halloween 4 they went with, right? I mean, with the chasing of her kid and all that.
Well, yeah, and I think this is also a good motivation for Michael. He's like, look, I was burned up, bitch. 3rd degree, 4th degree burns. They dropped me in Lake Michigan, and then I find out you forget all about me, and you're a successful photographer for a really successful company in Chicago. Fuck this shit. You gonna learn today. You don't turn your back on family, dog.
And by the way, dude, you have to imagine there's a badass 80s soundtrack going through this whole hustle and bustle of Chicago City.
Yeah, like the height of the MTV days. So that would be what I'd be most excited about. The soundtrack would probably be insanely good.
Yeah, and apparently the guy he kills, the rock musician he kills, they show his music video playing, and the song's called like Maniac or whatever. And then when Michael takes the Porsche out, you notice on the license plate it says like Maniac 1.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Like it seems so cool, but at the same time, there's so many eye roll moments too. You're like, full.
It all depends on how they did it.
I don't know.
I'm thinking
it feels
Jason
Lives. Good, but it's like, yeah, but I don't know if it works for Michael. Like it works for Jason, but it's almost like, does this work? Because you're having fun with it, but then you also realize, oh shit, this is Michael fucking Myers, man. Oh my.
Yeah, dude, I get exactly what you're fucking saying. I love it. It's fun. I want to, just like you said earlier. Dude said earlier. Michael versus Jason. Do I want to fucking see it? Yes. Would it possibly really have hurt the franchise? Yes. But then again, we also live in a world where Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 exists. So
it's kind of like actually enjoying a Rob Zombie movie.
Yeah, at least you enjoyed it while you were watching it.
I like it, but it makes me feel so dirty.
So while this is going on, Loomis also goes to the grave of Michael Myers to exhume it, and they find the grave empty, which, as the writer points out, is very confusing because Michael dropped into a lake. And Loomis says at one point that he saw him buried, but you don't know if he's just saying that because he wants Laurie to believe that she's safe. That's all very confusing, and they could have tightened that up a little bit. But so he kills the husband. Laurie shows up, and I think this is all pretty fucking cool from here on out, man. I think it's pretty dope. Laurie shows up. She fights with Michael. She beats him with a hot poker stick in my ear. She beats him with a hot poker stick. Even lodges the hot poker stick in Michael's skull while they're fighting. She gets hers. Laurie gets hers. They end up, like, the fight spreads to the backyard next to the pool. Loomis is on his way here, and he steals a coroner's van and realizes that the brakes are fucking cut, and then smashes that shit into a electrical light post, which crashes in the back of Laurie's pool. So Laurie, in the penultimate scene, takes like a rake or some shit, attacks Michael, hits him into the pool, where the same light post has fallen inside of the pool. Now Michael's trying to climb out of the fucking pool, and he grabs an electrical wire to pull himself out to go kill Laurie. Then they pan over to like the electric company working on the wires. They're like, "Oh, here we go, fixed it." And then they switch it on. And while Michael's holding the fucking rope, Michael fucking starts going like
He's
this.
like, "Don't touch that switch, Randy. Which one, this? Which one, this?" And then Michael cooks like a fucking egg inside the pool. What's funny is that Loomis is the one that knocks out the substation, and like, because he was like crazily trying to get over to Laurie's place to help her. So he inadvertently helps Michael survive, and then he gets over there. Like, you imagine what's going through. Like, what if they hadn't, like, he still got the poker in his fucking head. He's like, "This bitch done poked me in the face." And she knocked me into the pool, and I got a nice leather jacket and leather pants on. You know that shit's sticking. Like, and I do like it. Just the whole thing seems cool. Like, the ending seems kind of cool, but at the same time, it just feels such like a sketch, like a parody. Like you know, it's just kind of goofy. It's kind of goofy.
I think the stuff before does, the 80s stuff does, but the ending I can actually see in a serious manner. Like the guy turns it on, Michael's holding it, he starts convulsing, and this is what I don't like. Michael actually explodes. He explodes.
That's where the goofiness comes in there.
And right as Loomis Loomis runs in, and they do a nice little ploy on, instead of Loomis saving Laurie, Laurie takes care of Michael herself, and Loomis shows up at the penultimate scene. Michael literally explodes, which I hate. Don't like that at all. Would have changed that in a heartbeat. You never kill Michael Myers. And that's all she wrote. That's the end of the film. The film ends with panning on Michael Myers' new grave with a new date on it. And what it says is it ends with on his tombstone, there's a quote by Edgar Allan Poe that says, for in that sleep of death, what dreams may come.
Yeah, I've seen that movie. It's a great movie.
Every Nightmare on Elm Street.
It's like, I don't know, dude. It reminds me of some Ernest Goes to Jail shit. It's like, I came, I saw, I got blown up. Like, here's the thing. Like, I don't understand some of these writers. And granted, these guys weren't professional writers. Neither one of them were. One guy was a lead singer for a medium-sized band in LA, and he had a good friend that they wrote the script together, and they weren't part of a writer's guild. So I get that. But I don't understand the motivation for a lot of writers, like why they want to make it where Michael can't come back. Like, I don't get that in a lot of ways. He's like, you're gonna blow him the fuck up. Like, why? Like, I don't get it.
He did mention, by the way, when interviewed in the book, that he didn't know. He was like, I just assumed that we were writing the last one. So to their credit, you know, he was like, I assumed we were supposed to write the last one, which obviously was not the case.
Well, also, he did mention in that interview how I could see it too. Mustafa Akkad got pissed off that he was writing like camera shots. He's like, you don't do that in my house here. Because his good friend or whatever, he would take it to him. He's like, yeah, Mustafa doesn't like that, because the dude was just trying to, like, he said himself as a director, and would see these shots in his head, and he would write in the script like POV of this, or the camera would shift here, and Mustafa's like, you don't tell me how to shoot my film, okay? You come in, you write, you get the fuck out. I give you money, okay? Yeah, man. I think that I hate that. Like, I think that they had it felt like a very action-packed, like very fast-paced Halloween movie, which is probably not what any of us would be used to at all. So it's going to be totally different.
Yeah.
Also taking place in Chicago, so well removed from Haddonfield, and you know, it's the MTV movie generation. The ending is where I'm like, I'm fucking, yeah, you kind of lost the wind in your sails right there, because it's like you're trying to get it out as quick as you can. The costume design for him, don't like that. Like The Office, like, don't like that.
I think it's all fixable though, and I think that's why this is my favorite unmade Halloween script of all time, because I think it's all very fixable. But you might think that that's the end of the story, but it's definitely not the end of the story, because what happened after this was they found out Jamie Lee Curtis would not come back to do the film. They weren't going to be able to use Jamie Lee Curtis. So in an effort to save the script that they wrote, they went back and they rewrote the script, and they took Jamie Lee Curtis, they took Laurie Strode out of the script. And I actually think this makes it better. I think you'll probably agree with me on this, but I think this makes the script better, dude, because instead they had to do something with all Laurie Strode's dialogue, with her whole story, the PTSD and all that stuff. And what they did was they gave all those lines to Loomis. They made Loomis the main character, and they made the Aunt Heather a bigger character in the film. And basically what you got, and the writer, the guy who wrote it, says this in the interview. He's like, yeah, he's like, they used, and he was cool with it. He seems like a totally rad fucking dude, by the way. He said, I went and saw the movie, and I could see that they used a lot of the stuff that I wrote. The power going out, a lot of the stuff going on. I could see that they had several writers working on the film at one time, and they used the best of each one, and then gave the writing credit to the final guy who wrote it. But he's like, we got paid. I don't care, man. I think it's awesome. Which, cool on that dude. Fucking seems like an awesome dude. But do you have the Loomis explanation here? In his version, when they switched it to Loomis, very, very cool. They did sort of explain Michael Myers' supernatural-ish abilities, and they did it through Loomis. And Loomis has it. It's on 73.
Fuck, I'm sorry, my dog ate all my homework. I'm not really prepared. Is it the? Okay, yeah, I got it. Okay,
I got it. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. I kind of want to do it in the Malcolm McDowell, but I'm not going to do that. She is Michael Myers' sole surviving blood relative. I can't help but fear that one day he may return to fulfill an ancient prophecy. I know what I'm suggesting cannot be explained in scientific terms. According to ancient mythology, the medieval druids separated their year into two equal segments. The first, from May 1st, was presided over by the Lord of the Sun. The second, from November 1st, was presided over by the Lord of the Dead, Samhain. During this transformation of seasons, there's a time when the natural world and the world beyond are one. This provides an opportunity for the spirits of the dead to come dance on the hill with the other demon fairies, and a time when the Lord of the Dead can interfere with the lives of men. Violently. Don't you laugh. October 31st is the festival of Samhain. As with all great legends, they sometimes contain truths. And that truth may live in the soul of Michael Myers. Yeah, that's what he said. I'd be like, if I were listening to that shit, I'd be like, so what you're saying is basically we shouldn't have Halloween this year. And this guy is somehow the Lord of Sammy Hagar. I was like, no, I said Samhain. Like, you'll fill your Hanes underwear with poop when he comes around.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to go for the Malcolm McDowell, but I guess it did come through. If I had actually been going, it would have sounded like it. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting stuff. They were trying to, bring in some cool supernatural druidic shit in it. So
yeah, and again, like, it seems like this guy's right. It seems like they really did use part of his script at the end of the day, with some of the ideas he came up with and whatever. But we pretty much said it. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, I like a lot of it. I don't know if I'd have the balls to really greenlight it with all the 80s stuff, even though, like, I'm torn, dude. Like, if I was like, I want to see Michael do that. Like, that would be such a fucking crazy 80s-ish wild fucking Halloween movie. And I think we would be so entertained by it that I would have a hard time saying no to it, because I'd like to see that happen. But just like, again, what we said earlier, Michael versus Jason, I want to see it, but it shouldn't be part of canon because it could fuck everything up. Same thing with this movie. But then again, they did some dumb shit in Halloween 5 too. So I really don't know.
I liked it for what it was. It wasn't a like, you know what? As a fan film, I think it would work. I think it would be a really interesting fan film. I wouldn't mind it at all. Or even a one shot or a one off that had nothing. Like if it was on an HBO or something like that, it was like an alternative reality.
Yeah.
I'd go with it. I don't know if I want that part of my canon.
Yeah.
Like if that had been the part of the canon, I mean, it's really hard. Like they even ask him, like, it's really hard to come back when you know, explode the fucking guy. Like, I mean, then you're pretty much painting them in a corner. Like, all right, well, good luck on Halloween 5.
Here's the thing
Like,
about
well,
that, though. Here's the thing about that changes my mind, though. And when they found out Laurie wasn't coming back, they changed some things, including giving Loomis Laurie's dialogue. I love the idea about focusing on Loomis. I think that's fucking genius. I think we really should have done that when we had the chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We really had something special there. We should have focused on Loomis when we had the chance. And then you don't get just another Laurie storyline. But also, they changed the ending of the film. And the ending of this film, with Loomis as the focus, Michael doesn't explode. He just keels over. And then when the police get there, he's gone. So they basically fixed my biggest issue with it. And they made it better by focusing it on Loomis instead of Laurie, in my opinion. So
well, no, I think that, I mean, Donald Pleasance, arguably, besides Jamie Lee Curtis, is the best thing to come out of Halloween. 100%. I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, that's facts.
I put him above Jamie Lee Curtis, to be honest with you. I put him above Jamie Lee Curtis, to be honest with you.
And you know, look, if the more lines you can give to Dr. Loomis, or to you know, especially the way that Donald Pleasance was able to play that character, it just brings such a weight and realness to that movie, or to the actual legend of Michael Myers. Like you should do it. Like, but the ending, the thing what scares me is like the ending was only changed because Jamie Lee Curtis said, "Fuck that, I'm not doing it anymore."
Right.
If she had moved forward, that would have been the ending. They would have stuck with it most likely. And that's what scares me, is the fact that almost happened. And again, it's not a bad fan film. It's really not. But the fact that he's dressed in leather pants and a leather jacket, he's driving around a badass Porsche. It's got tinted windows. It's almost, it's fun, but it's almost like dorky at the same time. And I don't feel like compared to what we got with Halloween 4 is the one that brought Michael back. Like it really was the one that solidified Michael as a badass serial killer that you should be afraid of and put him back on the road to redemption. This movie might have damaged his character, not as bad as what, you know, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 did or anything like that, or Halloween 5 or 8. But I'm saying that it might have put him in a little bit more of a, yeah, he's kind of the storyline's kind of geeky and stupid, and you know, it would put him too much inside the same follow that. And I'm not saying anything wrong with it, but you know how Jason Voorhees, and like you get what you get when you go see a Jason Voorhees movie, and it's fun, right? It's fun. You want to see them bitches like being killed by the sleeping bags against the tree. It's fun, but that's what he is. Like you don't want to see Michael Myers in the same pool.
Right. I think you're absolutely right, dude. I think you're absolutely spot on with the Jason reference. Like I think you're right, dude. The only thing I would say is, let me ask you this: take this script, take out the flipping of the keys. I say keep the Porsche thing because I think that's pretty cool. Just take out the overtly 80s comedic little spot that they had there, and keep the Loomis version of the script where he's the focal point, and never have him change clothes. Take those parts out. Very easy things to take out of the script, by the way. Super fucking easy to take out. Take those things out, and I ask you now, gun to your head, do you make this script instead of the version of Halloween 4 we got? Because you got to remember, Halloween 4, as much as we love it for the Halloween atmosphere and all that stuff like that, Michael did not look good. He had those terrible fucking shoulder pads on. He was gangly and like dumb as fuck and just like falls off trucks and shit like that. There was really bad stuff in Halloween 4 as much as I like it. So I ask you this, if you take out the 80s comedic over the top keys flipping different clothes aspect of it, and you have Loomis as the focal character of the movie, would you bet on switching this with the Halloween 4 we got?
I gotta say no.
Really?
Because I'm just not, because we don't even know what the mask would look like in accordance with this script. If they're already going to go, I mean, I know you said you take out the leather pants and leather jacket, but if they're going to go that far, you don't know if they're going to make up some he might look like Paul Stanley from Kiss. Like, he might have some like fucking lipstick and shit.
But okay, let's say same mask from Halloween 4, same mask.
You know what? Because Loomis had a decent part in Halloween 4. I think it was balanced pretty well. I mean, it wasn't as much, you know, as many lines that I think he should have got, but he had a pretty balanced, you know, idea, you know, or participation in the film. I just feel like this movie, while it's fun and it's really exciting and it's different than what I've ever seen,
Yeah.
I feel like a fan film is the universe that it fits in rather than an actual canonical film.
Well, I mean, fan films didn't exist then, though. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
I know that, but I mean, it almost feels like I know that, but it almost feels like fans, like a fan film, like they were writing it. I mean, they weren't a part of the guild, you know, the Screenwriters Guild or anything, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, like, it just feels too much. They were pulling on what the essence of the time was, you know, rock and roll. They had seen Nightmare 4, I'm sure. They had seen Friday the 13th.
Well, and to be fair, this wasn't a studio guy writing it going, I want this to look like Nightmare or Friday. This was a rock star writing it and wanting it to like.
Well, I mean, I know, but he was in the scene, but at the same time, those movies were huge.
Right.
Like Nightmare 4 had Dokken, and Alice Cooper was doing Friday the 13th.
Yeah. So, well, let me ask you this then. Of all the Halloween 4 scripts we've heard, the one where he was using psychic powers, the last one we did, and the Dennis Etchison one where he grows to 12 feet tall and has regenerative capabilities.
So good. I love that Power Ranger episode.
Is this your favorite of those three?
Yeah, I would take that. I would take this in a heartbeat over those.
I think
the 80s background is what sells it for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, man. I think this is the best Halloween 4 script that I've seen out of all of them. And there's more in the book, by the way. Actually, definitely, guys, check out you can get it on Amazon, Taking Shape 2. Check it out. You're going to fucking love it. It's an amazing book. I want to make sure we're getting this content from them, so I want to shout them out as much as possible. Awesome dudes.
Now, if you were to tell me replace that script in fucking Halloween Resurrection, give it to me 100%. Fuck on this a one time.
Give it to me. I want
you know, anything to remove that movie from history. But
yeah
man, like while it's a fun read. It really is a fun read. And again, we can't really say much because it was like, you know, the author mentions it as well. It was a one treatment deal. They didn't get to really expand on it. Right. And it might have changed a lot. It might have got better. It might have been fleshed out more. Who knows? But I don't know, man. Like it compared to what we got with Halloween 4, like the actual movie that was made, I gotta stick to my guns and say Halloween 4 is still the better movie.
And I don't necessarily, I'd have to really put some thought into that. I want, like, I'm high on this script right now. I really want to see that and where it would have taken the rest of the franchise. Because you would have never got Jamie with Danielle Harris. You would have got the little girl, but still would have gone a different way for sure.
What are you gonna do on October 31st?
What are you gonna do on October 31st?
Here comes that white-faced fucker, an asshole like no other. He's a big old piece of shit. Wants to stab your sister's tits cause he's a white-faced fucker. Loomis can't recover. Dr. Challenge drunk again, sleeping with your sister's friends.
Do you want to know about the darkness?
I said, God damn.
God damn you, faggot!
I said, God damn.
A lot of people don't know the darkness that goes inside their hearts.
I said, God damn.
God damn you, Michael! What are you gonna do on October 31st?